So this week there were many things that happened that indicate that this recession is going to be coming pretty soon, and a lot of good things in the future for precious metals is on the way. So we've had yesterday the Fed cut rates by 25 basis points. We've had the Repo incident on Monday and Tuesday where the Fed had to lend nearly $75 billion for banks to have liquidity, input liquidity back into the markets. And 3 high officials in JP Morgan were charged under the RICO Act, which is for corrupt organizations, such as like the mafia and stuff that was used in the past. And so I'm going to break all this down and give my thoughts on what I think is going to happen in the next couple of months to come, if not next year. So for the Fed cutting rates, it was actually a very mixed deal from what I saw during their meetings. There were 3 people that dissented from the vote that didn't want to cut rates at all, and there were 7 people on the Fed that cut rates by 25 basis points, and there was another person that actually wanted to cut rates by 50 basis points or more because they were not very certain of the markets and growth moving forward. Then you have the repo incident where the central banks lost a lot of liquidity and interest rates actually spiked up to around 5 to 10%, which is far above what the Fed wants right now with 2% or less interest rates. And JP Morgan, it's with manipulation in the silver and gold markets because there was a lot of speculation and things and stories about JP Morgan suppressing the value of silver, because if you look at the US debt clock, silver is actually should be around $804 per ounce and gold should be around $6,600 per ounce. And so for many people, this is a very vindicating sign. And I'm actually glad that this story came out because I also am looking to invest in precious metals as well. And so for my thoughts on the Fed, I think that if they're really trying to prevent this recession, especially to save Donald Trump's presidency, I think the 25 basis points is not going to be enough because, one, it's not a very significant cut when we used to have interest rates much higher, especially when people really needed savings in their bank accounts so they can depend on years later so they can do other things. In an economy with a lot of debt, and this is coming from Peter Schiff's podcast, I do agree that in a society with a lot of debt, basically having us with no savings, unless you have a very large inventory of cash coming from your jobs and stuff like that, it's not going to be enough. And so, but for the reason why 25 basis points is enough is because overall everything's just going down, whether it's bonds, stocks not really showing any growth despite what Jerome Powell said. Because if you look at the Dow, I mean, just for example, like the all-time high is around, I think, 27,500 points, and right now we haven't gone above that if they're expecting any growth. And if you look at the 1 year, 2 year, or even 10-year forecasts, there's really not a lot of growth to show. It's just you see massive inflation in the market, and from at 27,000, it's just been going down and up, no real growth. And so giving only a 25 basis point cut is not going to really, in the long run, give a lot of CEOs, big bankers confidence to keep putting money in the economy when it's not really helping their cause. Even though I'm not personally, I have nothing through with this. And so, in my opinion, I do believe that and this is based on my last video, I do believe that if the Fed does not cut interest rates their next meeting, which is October 29th through 30th of 2019, then I believe that there's going to be a lot of pain in the economy, a lot of downturns, possibly even going down to 23,000 like what happened during the December of last year. And reason being is because they're not taking into account, one, we have the fiscal year budget starting October 1st, which is actually all of our money, almost all of the U.S.'s budget going into our military. And so you're taking away healthcare, infrastructure, education, and everything. It's a recipe for more jobs being lost, lack of education, lack of everything. So you're just going to see people losing healthcare, everything. This whole thing is just to accelerate the recession, in my opinion. So the fact that they've only given it 25 basis points here, and it's not going to help the rich, and certainly with the budget, and then you have the tariffs on steel, which even General Motors came out as the reason why they're shutting down their facilities, because of the tariffs with the Trump-China trade war. We're not going to have, it's becoming too expensive, and so at this point, I believe in a very near-term recession rather than a long-term, like it begins around May, June of next year. It's not going to be that long to wait for this recession. It's going to be very near-term, possibly starting as early as December. So if I were you guys, I'd be taking a lot of preparations these next 2 months. So today to November, to get prepared, because especially with the repo incident, if this happens again a week or two from now, then you definitely need to start moving your assets and your savings out of your bank accounts, in my opinion. Although you can do what you want, but I know what I'm going to do, and I believe in that a near-term recession is coming, and not the inverted yield curve that just inverted, and usually it takes about 16 months. I don't believe it's going to be 16 months, especially when a lot of things are different nowadays with budgets, tariffs, everything. And also possible more conflict in the Middle East with the Houthis and stuff like that. And so, last thing with JP Morgan, I think this is a good thing for a lot of silver and gold hoarders, because now we possibly could be seeing more indictments as well into this JP Morgan incident. So, and also and many people said that with the devaluing of the US dollar with quantitative easing, or possibly doing quantitative easing without any stops at this point due to the banking fiasco that just happened yesterday and the day before, that these guys at the Fed, they could be printing as much as hundreds of billions to maybe even $1 trillion right now, just to prepare, and then just to keep things out of the media for a while. And I don't think the media is really covering this incident, because they don't want bad news, because there's that fear that if you talk about a recession, it's going to happen anyway, which is true. But the thing of it is that if you keep on trying to prolong the inevitable, then the inevitable is going to be worse. I mean, that's how it always was and will be in the future. But I do believe that with the creation of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and possible return of gold and silver, there is going to be a new change in how we do economics, such as people have their own savings and stuff, digital savings. Okay, so this is the end of the video, and I would say definitely be on the lookout for these next couple of weeks, especially if another repo incident were to occur. Pay attention to that. and I'll be sure to report on beginning of this October 1st new fiscal cycle within the U.S. and maybe even there might be some immediate things to bring up from there. And same thing with this trade war with China and stuff like that, because part of my mind has me thinking that Trump might actually do tariffs to possibly put pressure on the Fed to cut interest rates more, because I think he knows at this point that tariffs hurt the markets. I do believe everybody's paying attention, and so I do believe that the chance of going to war with Iran and China is actually not as big as many people think. But at the same time, I don't think it's beyond a lot of actors, whether Democrats or Republicans, to try to see these markets either fail or look like they might fail. But the ultimate goal is to try to make sure that either Trump gets elected or he doesn't. At this point is what I think this whole Fed situation is about, plus trying to prevent the recession, depression. But anybody who knows where to stash their money, whether it's offshore bank accounts or they put it in gold and silver or cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're going to be the ones that are going to be the best prepared for this upcoming crisis. And anybody, which is basically over hundreds of millions of Americans, that don't prepare, they're going to be the ones hurt disproportionately. And I know that I've been preparing, because I know that you can't just follow the herd, because you're going to get slaughtered. That's how it always is. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.